Hi everyone, my name is Tabea. This is Not Quite a Degree, where we talk about things that I do not quite have a degree in, but I do have opinions on. And today's topic will be investing. Yep, investing. Everyone's like, excuse me, what? Haven't we talked about like books and like feelings on this channel before? And that is absolutely true. But I have been on a bit of a hiatus in the last 2 to 4 months basically with this channel. Not necessarily because I wanted to, but you know, things came up, work came up, it was Christmas, a lot of things happened, and I just kind of had tried to figure out what I want to do with this channel, especially this year, especially in the future. And for me, while I love talking about books and while I love talking about stuff that comes up on the weekly base, I feel like in the bigger picture of this channel, I would love to talk about things that are kind of commonly referred to as boring or maybe not, like female subjects. And I feel like investing is on that scale, up along with like money, politics, career stuff. So we'll see how that goes in the next couple, I don't know, maybe months or years to come. So we'll see what I'm gonna come up with content-wise in that realm in the future. And should it turn out that that's just not my thing, well then we'll just go back to the books or whatever it is. Anyway, so as you read in the title today, I want to talk about losing a bunch of money. No, I don't want to talk about that because that's not fun. But I have been investing, quotes everywhere, since summer of 2016, I think. And I kind of felt like sharing that story a little bit and maybe motivating some of you to look into that a little bit without overwhelming you with too many facts or whatever. I just talked about books. The thing that I'm reading right now is this. Not that that has anything to do with what we're talking about in this video, but this is Daniel Kahneman's Thinking Fast and Slow. It's the German version because hard books are sometimes easier to read in your mother tongue. No excuses made here. So I'm reading that and I'm not very far into it. I'd say, I don't know, maybe a quarter into it or whatever. And I do find it very interesting so far, even though it is quite the, you know, challenging read in some ways. Basically the book is kind of explaining how the human consciousness, the human mind works and how we make decisions, how our perception usually is flawed in some ways. Just by the way that our, you know, system in our brain works, and I do find that extremely interesting. There's also a section that I've already read where he stresses how much we overestimate our own abilities, and I've also just watched a video by Lena Norms that's very, very great about imposter syndrome. And so I've just kind of been realizing in the past couple days how I don't know anything about the things that I would like to know something about, even though they've been in my life for quite a long time. And I feel like investing is a great example for that, because even though I have kind of gotten into the whole stock market thing, trading stocks, whatever, years and years ago, I still really don't know that much about it, yet I do feel comfortable to share about it, which, is that a good thing? I don't know, yet we're here. So yeah, I just kind of wanted to use that as my little spoiler disclaimer, whatever you want to call it, to kind of raise awareness for the fact that I am in no way anybody to be asked advice in that realm or to trust when you make your own decisions. However, I have made my own experiences and it might be fun to share them with you. I felt like it would be a good start to this video, after 5 minutes, to tell you how originally I've come across investing as a girl at university in her very early 20s. I have talked about my first bachelor thesis before, and I wrote that in financial communication. Before that I had a lecture in financial communication, and I want to say also maybe like a seminar or something at some point. So I was already kind of familiar with how companies that are listed in the stock market, you know, kind of have to deal with the market communication-wise. And after that lecture that I had in the spring of 2016, throughout the summer, I probably had too much time on my hands because I wasn't studying. Can you please be quiet? Because I wasn't studying 2 degrees at the time, to kind of spend my free time however I wanted. And I ended up kind of realizing, okay, so I know a little bit about the stock market, yet not enough to kind of use that to my own advantage. So that summer, I basically just decided to educate myself at least a little bit on the basics of how to trade stocks. And as any smart person these days does, took to YouTube for that. Where else would you go, eh? And I have to say, it's actually quite surprising how YouTube really can serve so many purposes, like educating yourself on a topic that's presumably really boring yet so important. I think it's just great that there's so many free resources out there these days that we can just use, you know, and that we should use. Anyway, I'm not gonna explain to you how the stock market works because, well, that's what these people do and they do it a lot better than I could probably. Yet, all I'm gonna say about this is don't try to get too deep into it. It's fine if you don't understand the very depth of every single thing that happens on the stock market because there's just so much to understand and you don't need to understand all of it in order to at least trade your first stock. And I felt like that is a great realization because it kind of lifted off some fear of me of basically losing all my money and kind of fucking up everything. In this video, I kind of want to walk you through the first steps that it takes to kind of buy your first stock and how that feels. If you want to get onto the stock market, what you have to do is open an account with a bank that lets you trade stocks throughout that particular account. I've looked up words for that. In German we have the beautiful word Wertpapierdepot. I mean, talk about beautiful language here. I don't know what the exact English translation is. I'm guessing there might even be differences from region to region. But anyway, basically you just need an account that you can put money into and that lets you buy stocks from a marketplace. There's lots of providers who do that, and for me that felt so overwhelming in the beginning. I was just like, I have no idea what all these like things that they offer you even mean. There's so many things that you could possibly be trading and so many price structure that come with that, and I was just overwhelmed to no extent. After basically having gone through a lot of research, I advise you to go the easy way again and maybe let somebody else who's more informed than you do the research for you. Figure out a couple providers where you think, okay, I've read a lot about them, they seem legit. At first, I feel like that's like disclaimer, please only go with providers that seem legit. And then maybe put in Google like 1 or 2 names or 3 names of a provider and kind of get like a comparison between the 3. Again, there's lots of great YouTube videos out there. Also, there's like websites that compare stuff for you. And then just go with the option where you feel like, okay, I can do all the basic things at a good cost. And I don't seem to be reading anywhere that they rip off people. Because I feel like in the beginning, I had no idea what I was doing. Probably nobody really does. So I feel like it's a good thing to just go with a simple option that lets you do simple things at a simple price. Opening up that account is basically like opening up any bank account. You just give them your information, you give them information on the bank account that you already have so that they know where to transfer money to or from. And then also you have to fill out, I think, a couple forms, at least in Germany it's that way, where you tell them how much of a risk you're willing to take with your tradings. I feel like that is mainly for you not to be able to sue them for making wrong decisions, but to be 100% honest with you, I have not really understood what the implication of filling out that form was, because it did not really restrict me from making any choices, but it also didn't give me more choices. It's a rather simple process, and usually they do even have hotlines that you can call whenever you have a problem or a question about stuff like that. Besides opening an account, what was always super scary for me is like taxes that are related to trading stocks, because I had no idea how the whole thing works when you trade stocks. Like, how is the fiscal politics involved in that? I'm like, I don't know. And I mean, I can definitely not say that for like any country. I can only talk for Germany. But we handle it that way that for the most part, actually, the bank that you have the account in where you trade stocks will usually actually do the whole taxing part for you. Like, they will take out a tax portion already for you, and you don't have to do that again. Unless you make a lot of money on there, then, you know, there might be some extra rules. But again here, even though I cannot speak for the whole world, one thing I've learned really is that it's oftentimes a lot easier than you think it is, especially when you're just starting out. And I think that's actually great, because I feel like in Germany it is that way, and I can imagine that it is in most other countries. The restrictions and tax you have to pay on very, very small profits that you make usually are either not there, or they're very small and very easily deductible. So Just get into it a little bit, but don't worry about it too much because it's going to be such a small portion in the beginning. Just be aware of it, but don't stress about it too much, I'd say. We are finally ready and getting... Oh my god, my leg is falling asleep so hard. This is not comfortable. Oh. I should not have sat on the floor for this. But anyway, it's the best lighting I could get. Okay, great. We do have an account set up. We're basically ready to rush into the market and get rich now. Except that to make money, you need money. That is one of the sad realizations you come to when you kind of get interested in the whole topic of stock exchange or, I don't know, wealth in general. It's really one of the most commonly discussed questions, I feel like, when it comes to trading stocks or anything really on a stock market. How much money do you need to even start? And I feel like there's no definite answer to that. But if you're just starting out to kind of understand the whole thing, you technically don't need more money than it needs, than one single stock is worth, and that can go anywhere from like a couple pennies to several thousand, I'll say several hundred euros, dollars. However, from my own experience in the last couple years, I feel like about 150 to 300 euros, dollars, pounds, sterling is a good place to start. In some way I would say it's actually the best place to start, especially when you're young like me, because again, we don't know what we're doing, so not having that much money that you can literally throw in the market and burn if it, you know, would come to that, will save you a lot of trouble, and also kind of, for me, in my mind, helped me to take more risk. Because I knew, okay, that might be $150, that might be gone in no time, but if it does, well, okay, you know, then in a couple of months, if I've made, you know, a new sum of money that I can invest, I'm just going to come back at it, but I'm not going to have lost like $1,000 or something that I saved up over several months and then was like super discouraged when I didn't have success with that. Like, you can't really make money off $150 to $300. Like, that's just a lie if somebody tells you that you can actually get rich with that. And it's also the biggest lie that with under several $1,000s you'll be able to actually have a great profit off your investments in like a couple months, unless it's like Bitcoin or something like that. But it will definitely teach you what happens with your money, what happens when you buy a stock, and I feel like that's a great lesson. And maybe in a couple of years, when you get to the point where you have several $1,000s to invest, you know what's happening, you know what you're doing, and you will much more likely be successful. I mean, that's great, isn't it? So yeah, let's just use that as my kind of weird explanation and clean up with the misconception that you need a lot of money to invest into your first stock. After this whole explanation, if you have your account, I'd say, you know, maybe round up about a couple $100. If you can, maybe 500, but that's already quite a lot for your first investment. And just, you know, try it, go at it. Like, be aware that that money might be gone. Be aware that you might have some profit, but even if you do, it's not going to be a lot, but you know, it's going to be a learning process. The last part of this video I think is the most important part, and it's also the part that justifies what it says in the headline, which is how I lost all my money. So I've done everything that I just talked about and basically set out to find a stock that I thought looked good. I basically just pulled up a Wikipedia list of literally all German companies that are listed on the German stock market and just went by them from A to Z. Which, you know, is that a smart way to do it? I don't know, but it's one way to do it. It might teach you a thing or two. A, yeah, you can actually find companies to invest in on Wikipedia, it's that easy. B, there's too many companies to invest in for you to really know what you're doing at first. And 3, looking at a company will never give you the full picture. The company that I picked was basically an equity company, so a company that invests other people's money into startups in the hopes that these startups will grow and one day be sold, and then thus the money will be redistributed to the people who originally invested, and then somehow the stock goes up. Well, that's not a good explanation for somebody who studied business for 3 years. But anyway, and it's not important what company it is, but basically what I did is I just looked at their website and just kind of, you know, went by how the design looked to me. That's probably the dumbest way to do it, but it's, you know, again, the way I did it. Basically did not have a lot of information and just figured it just, you know, I just wanted to give it a try because I think the word startup probably triggered me being like, oh, startups, great, things that grow, I like that. Spoiler alert, it did not go too well. And pretty much immediately after that, the whole thing just kind of crashed over the next couple months, and I just didn't really know what to do about it. I wasn't very smart about how I picked my stock, but you know, that happens. And you know, sometimes it's also a lot of luck that goes into it, whatever. But if you do pick your stock and decide to buy it, what happens next? Well, it's basically as simple as transferring money to somebody. You just kind of pick the stock, you tell them how much money you want to invest, the bank account will usually tell you how many stocks that'll be, and then you basically just put in whatever identification it needs for you to, you know, make the transaction, and then you own a stock. Like, it's rather simple. I was very surprised about that because I was like, I am 20, 21 something. Should I be given the ability to trade stocks that easily? To buy into a company literally that easily? But it is. After that, usually it's just a lot of waiting game with stocks. It's up to you when you sell your stock or what to do with it, how long to hold on to it, whatever, and that is like the hard part. And also my biggest learning opportunity. My first stock failed me absolutely miserably. In the first 2, 3, maybe 4 months, it lost, I think, 90% of its value. It was like devastating. And I probably was like, oh, I'm never gonna invest again. I did later on, because I took, you know, the way of not investing all my money at first, as I said before. But the learning opportunity that I have is you kind of have to understand how a company works if you want to invest in them. You don't have to understand the nitty-gritty numbers of everything, but you need to have an understanding of how the company actually operates. And I do have a bit of a comparison here. So the first company that I invested in as an equity company is a company where the people that work in that company are very, very important. And shortly after I bought the stock, the people were, you know, being exchanged a lot. You know, they had a new CEO and whatever, which should already have told me that, hey, there is something like really not great going on in that company and people are probably gonna lose trust in that company. Which should have told me, sell the stock. I didn't listen, so learning opportunity here. You know, on the other hand, later on I invested in a company that's kind of on the other side of the spectrum. It was a company that made either parts or the whole thing of like PlayStation controllers. Again, you don't need to know the whole story basically. And I anticipated already that shortly before Christmas, that company was obviously going to have much better news to tell the market because they're obviously selling a lot more because, well, PlayStations are a great gift for Christmas. And lo and behold, actually, yes, the stock went up right before Christmas because that company was like, yeah, we're doing pretty great. People are like, great for you, we're gonna buy that stock. And so everybody profited from it, except me, who did see that coming but did not sell until after Christmas because I'm a fucking idiot. That is my story of how to kind of A, deal with the waiting game, and B, kind of avoiding that you lose all your money like I did. Okay, so I'm running out of battery here and I feel like I've said everything that I wanted to say today. I feel like there's so many aspects of it that you can get so much more into, but that was like my short first video of how I lost a bunch of money and learned a couple things when opening my first stock account and dealing with my first stocks. And I feel like maybe some of you are like, maybe I want to kind of get into it, and I'd be super happy to talk to you about it, maybe get into an exchange, what you've done or what you're thinking of doing, and just kind of get talking in some way. I'll be happy if you come back next week, and also if anybody's watching this video who is at VidCon London this year, I'll be there too. Feel free to hit me up on any social media platform. I'll be so excited to see you. So until next time, bye bye!